Okay, thanks for joining the keynote about effective software development. The effective developer works smarter, not harder. My name is Sven. I work for MongoDB and I'm a developer advocate. So if you think about what is an effective developer actually doing, I have some ideas here in my mind what actually is effective development. So, for example, they write very, very smart code, right? If you look at the code, you think, wow, this is amazing. I need to find out what this code is doing. And then you look at it for 1-2 minutes and say, wow, this is so smart. So these effective developers write smart code. But not only that, they're also fixing bugs immediately, right? If they have a bug, if there's coming a bug in their issue tracking system into Jira or GitHub issues or wherever, they just grab it and fix it, right? And it's done in 5-10 minutes. So they jump on bugs immediately, very, very effective. And also, they just adding new features. So they just grab it from the backlog and just 1 or 2 days later, the feature is done, it is deployed, and it's running and people are using it. Amazing how fast they are. And then also, they never stop. They're always hacking, right? Always hands on the keyboard. If they stuck somewhere because they have to wait for a designer or someone else, they just grab the next issue from the backlog, work on that one, and then once the designer has done their work, they come back and work on the previous task. So they're always on it. And they actually live and breathe code. They just inside out. They know exactly where to look at. If they have an issue, they just know where to look at, which class, which line of code actually. So they know the code inside out. Very, very effective developers. Well, that was me kind of. Maybe not that cool, but I was feeling it in 2003. So 3 years after I graduated. Yeah, sorry, I'm that old dude. But I thought I am super effective. I know the code inside out. I can program. I can do everything. But then looking back from now, I just asked myself, was I really super effective? I would say no. So let's take a look at these things that I just talked about and see them in retrospective. So I was writing very, very smart code. It was actually so smart that even I don't understand it anymore. So I said, please don't touch. I know it's working and it's cool and it's great, but I don't know why actually anymore. So, and then I was fixing all the bugs, just like very, very fast. Someone reported a bug, I fixed it, maybe in the evening, but I actually never got the time to work on the root problem. I should have actually taken the time at that time and just fix the root problem so less bugs would have come in. But I was just like, I want to get this done. Adding new features, same thing, right? I was just wanted to do new features at that time and just grabbing features and then switching to another feature if I got stuck. But you know what? Some of those features got actually, I wouldn't say never used, but they were rarely used. So I didn't really take the most high priority features or the features that had the most impact. So I was just adding features. And then I never stopped, right? As I said, designer needed to work on the task. I stopped and brought and worked on another task, right? But that was a lot of context switching. So I had to stop working on something. And we know when we switch context, it takes us maybe 20 minutes, maybe half an hour to just get into the same flow. So it would have been actually better to use that time to really think things through, to fix things first, and then work concentrated time on that. I live and breathe code. I know every line of code in the code base. I was thinking I know every line of code, but hey, I had the feeling I know everything. But what I missed was actually the broader view, right? Where is this software going in 1 or 2 years, right? What is our vision for the software? I was so in the code that I didn't see the purpose of the software and where should it go. So in other words, I was super efficient, right? I was working on my efficiency. I was ticking the boxes. I was fixing issues, adding features, all the things. But Effectiveness, I would question that actually. Well, if you want to work on efficiency, right, then you can do a lot of things, automation stuff, blah, 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 blah. But you actually need to work harder, right, to be more efficient, to concentrate more. But what we actually should look at is to work on our effectiveness and work smarter. Now, you must say, Sven, yeah, you were telling about something in 2003. Sure, things were different down. You had this waterfall processes, and I was actually doing waterfall in the beginning of my career. You didn't have really repositories. I was actually checking in my files on my source code files on a file server. So we had some conflicts there when we were working with two persons on the same file. And then also we worked in silos. We had QA departments and all these things. There was nothing like DevOps at that time, right? So really, if you look at this, what we have now, times have changed, Sven. So now we are agile, right? And we have continuous integration, continuous delivery. Everything gets deployed to the cloud automatically. We just change the line of code and press the button and boom, it's there. Right? No big release cycles and stuff like that. And we work closer together with the ops guys, right? We know DevOps actually rerun our software ourselves these days and don't throw it over the wall to the IT guys like back in the days. So times have changed. Did we not become more effective? Well, actually there's more, right? We work now in cross-functional teams. We have actually product managers on our team. So we work closely together with them and designers on our teams and IT persons on our teams, right? And then we have the cloud, which makes it so easy now to just use things from the cloud and deploy everything to the cloud, right? So these days we should be super effective. We changed so much stuff in software development the last couple of years, right? Are you feeling you are super effective? You're working on the right things. You have enough time to learn, to work on stuff. Okay, this talk is then for you, the effective developer. And I want to talk a little about how we can work a little bit smarter, but actually not harder. Right, sounds stunning. Let's get started. And the first thing I want to talk is about code. And I wrote down this line here, and it says team code. Why team code, right? Because we write code together as a team. There's just rarely people that just work on the code alone. So most of us work together with other folks on the code. So it's actually a team code. But let's take a step back. So actually writing good code takes time. We know that. It's not just like we can put our hands on the keyboard and it's flowing and then good code is on the screen. Right? It takes time, and we know that. Well, I once had a boss who said, "Well, why do you spend so much time in making your code look good, feel good? The machine doesn't care, right? It compiles everything to machine code and then gets executed. So the machine doesn't care how the code looks like. It is actually the humans that care. Why should we write code for humans? Don't we write code for the machine to get executed and have great apps, right, for the users? Well, unfortunately, we have to maintain code. So once we've written code, it's not done. It's never done, actually. So actually, we read actually code more often than we write code. So actually, when you write code, it's just like a fraction of time that people coming back to that code and reading it and trying to understand what this code is doing and then change it, because we're changing code frequently, right? Once it's written, it's not done. It's never done. So we have to think about that we read code more often than we write code. So it's good to invest actually time in writing very, very good code. And if you look at code like this, you think, whoa, what's going on here, right? It's really hard to read that code. So when I got this, when I opened a class and see this, I said, oh my God, I don't understand it. So who can I blame? So I just look at the original author and go to the author and say, hey, come on, tell me what is this code doing? But then I found out, it was actually me writing that lines of code just a few months ago, and I forgot it. But I know, it was a hectic time, and I had to write this code, and it had to be delivered, right? But that was not a good choice, right? So there's a lot of stuff wrong with this code, but I was just like point out something out here, print income information. We should use camel case here. Then the indents and the lines, it's just like super not aligned. It's really hard to read because of this. Then we have the curly braces that are sometimes on the same line, sometimes on the next line, no consistency here. We have this, okay, I don't want to touch on this magic number that is in that code, but we know the variable and the constant is just like, which way around is that now? And it's really hard to get your brain adjusted to one or the other. There should be rules for that. And then also the variable names are just like, what does it say? Deduction A, deduction B, temp. I have no idea, right? So we should work on make that code look good. So we should actually go and refactor this and make some formatting things. And it's important that we as a team agree on certain coding standards. So because when you read that code, it is like seeing matching patterns, right? You can just see it and you see some kind of patterns when you are in that form, when you are doing the same formatting for the whole code and everyone agrees on some coding rules, right? Because actually what the human brain does, like the human mind does not read every letter by itself, but the word as a whole. We can read this, right? We can actually understand this. And it's the same with code, right? We just look at it and we understand what's going on, and then we can dive deeper into the weeds of the code and look at the lines and what it's doing exactly. But we can just, from a glance, just see what it's doing if our mind is trained for this coding standards, right? So have formatting standards. And tools make that easy to automatically format stuff. I know that, but also go beyond that and say and look at what you can actually format, what you can agree as a team how your code should be formatted. It helps a lot with the readability. And we also know that meaningful names, not temp or A or B or something like that, and for variable methods helps also for people to that need to understand that code, that need to read that code, and helps with the understandability. So I was actually talking about my smart code that I was writing. I call it now here clever code, right? Why do people write that super clever code? Maybe they want to show off. I don't know. Maybe they want to protect their knowledge. I don't know. But it's actually not a good thing. You should actually just look at it, and it should be readable. It should be understandable. The code. So I would say it's make your code more simple. Make it more simple. Add one line more if it helps people to understand what's going on, right? So I would go for simplicity over cleverness. So make your code more simple instead of trying to show off and show how clever you are, right? It should be very, very simple. Why? Because I told you this. We are working together on the code, right? We're working together. Someone is writing it, the other one is reading it, and code is our common language. So we need to make it understandable for all the team members in the code. And if you write clever code, and maybe some super senior cool developers can understand it, but your junior developers don't understand it maybe. So let's talk about code. Is your code simple enough? How can you find out? And I just read this blog post from Trisha G, and she actually suggested to do something like the canary test with your code to find out if your code is actually simple enough. So like canary birds back in the days in the coal mines, when people were working in the coal mines and they had this canary bird, and the canary bird is just falling down, you know, the air is poison and you have to get out. You know, actually you give the code to your junior devs. And if they actually don't understand what's going on, your code is not simple enough. Your code is not readable enough to have a common team code, right? We work together as a team on the code. So how do we actually give code to the junior devs and try to understand, let them try to understand what the code is doing? Exactly. Code reviews. Invest time in code reviews. Let every line of code be reviewed by a peer, by a coworker, right? It ensures you that you have a consistent code quality, that you have this formatting standard, that you have readable and understandable variable names. But it also helps not just to check if the code is simple enough for everyone to understand, but it also helps to inspire junior developers. developers, right? They see and they learn through code reviews. Now, I've been telling that a lot in my talks, that invest time in code reviews. Code reviews are important, blah, blah, blah. And I get always the question, we have actually problems with code reviews in our team. Not everyone wants to do it, and then there's a lot of ranting going on. So I have here 5 rules how to do code reviews right. And this is more about the team interaction in code reviews. First, if you read code in a code review, try to understand what's going on. So seek to understand. This is super important. And the next thing is, like, if you criticize something, if you're not agreeing with something in the code, just don't criticize the people that have written the code, not the person that has written the code, but the idea as itself, right? Say, maybe I would do that differently. And that's the next thing. Don't rant, right? Don't say, this is ugly code. Just make suggestions how to improve the code. But don't just say, do this instead. Spoon feeding is not good. So don't spoon feed. So don't tell people directly what they should do, right? Just give them suggestions, give them hints, how they should improve the code, how they can make it better. And also important, just for senior as for junior developers, comment on positive things too. It's actually not just you. You should have a positive feeling. Code reviews should leave a positive feeling, right? So also comment on positive things and say, this is a great way, great. Or, oh, I didn't know that. I learned something here. It helps really to make code reviews enjoyable, right? It should be an enjoyable thing to read through code from other people. And the people that give the code, they should just say, oh, great, my code gets improved when you do the code review. So this makes you actually super effective, because actually your code gets more readable, so it's more maintainable and more understandable by the whole team. So also if new team members join, you know that they can dive relatively easy into the code if your code is good. So write team code. All right, let's touch on the second thing I want to say to talk about today, about being effective as a developer, right? And that's learning, right? So when I came from university and I looked at the code base that I had to work with, I said, wow, cool. I didn't know that this is possible. This is so great. My learning curve was so steep. I learned so much. I know it was hard because all the new things just came together, but I found it a great experience, right? And when we look at our industry right now, and it doesn't stop. I'm here since, as you saw, 20 years, which is a long time. Oh my God. So new technologies are still showing up all the time, and we get excited. That's why this conference is so successful, because we want to constantly learn new things, right? We want to constantly learn how to improve, right? But then there's this tension in the industry that we all say, whoo, super exciting, a new technology. We have to use that in production. It's the newest ever. So let's go for it. Well. That's nice, and I really love new technology. But when you're starting from this excitement, you also get a little bit like, oh yeah, this new technology that we actually use in production is not maintained anymore. So maybe we jump too fast on this bandwagon, and now the train has moved on to the next cool thing. So you get a little bit like this person here, right? So, you know what? I will also survive the microservice and serverless hype. It's going over, and there's something new coming. Oh, really? A new front-end framework? Again, I've seen so many. Or Scrum boards. But for me, I already know what's important. Don't tell me what's important on the Scrum board. I already know what is important to me. Or code reviews. My code is perfect. I don't write code. I don't need to do code reviews. So with other words, you actually, over time, become a little bit grumpy. Maybe this person is very extreme and rarely to find that is such a grumpy, but I have this tendency sometimes too that say, yeah, great, thank you for a new front-end framework. I will wait and see where it goes before I actually think it's cool, right? There are some technologies that would stay, some not. But you get this tendency. But we we have to get over this and constantly learn, because actually being in this industry and being in software development is a constantly learning experience. So how do we keep up with all these new things that's actually happening around us through the whole day, through the whole week, through the whole month, through the whole year, right? So what I do actually, when I commuted to work back in the days, I was listening to podcasts and audiobooks. Nowadays, I'm stuck here at home, and I'm doing some workouts in the morning. So I'm doing that during my workouts. I'm listening to some good software engineering podcasts, and also listening to some audiobooks, just to constantly be up to date with what's going on, what's cool, and dive deeper into some of those things. Meetups are cool things. Also, now in the virtual world, there are a lot of meetups that you can attend. So I hope we can meet in person again, because that's actually the thing that meetups do. They're just like the networking thing, and we talk to each other and we get to know people. But still, they are still happening, and we should still support them. We should go them also to constantly learn new people, learn new opinions from other people, and open ourselves, right, to new things. What we do at MongoDB is actually our developer relations team, Lauren Scheffer, actually. She actually invited us to a book club. I'm not the book reader. I really have problems just constantly reading a book. But this book club helps us, because we are reading a chapter each week and then meet for 1 hour each week just to talk about what we just read. And it's not just like that I got to read a book, but I'm also discussing things, and we have this intense discussions about certain chapters that we read in this book. So just try to start a book club and meet regularly. What I also did was I was actually organizing this Video Fridays when we're all sitting in an office. So on this Video Fridays, we actually looked at a video on YouTube that we want to see, a talk from a favorite with an actually interesting topic. And then we met at 3 p.m. On a Friday afternoon, just before we went into the weekend, watched the video, discussed it, and then went into the weekend. That was a regular thing. Also here, same as the book club, we take time as a team, and that helps us to learn, right? Sitting alone at home, but doing it as a team just gives us a little bit more like motivation to learn, and it has this regular thing. So I can just recommend, we need to constantly learn. And you're here at Devoxx Ukraine, so you know what I'm talking about, right? You're here also to learn. But I hear that sometimes from junior developers, Sven, why should I learn, right? Why should I actually learn? Because if I have a problem, all the answers are in Stack Overflow. I just go to Stack Overflow and look it up. So why should I listen to a whole book about this topic? I can just copy and paste the code, right? This is how we do it. Maybe it solves the problem short term, but you don't really understand what's going on. Someone else solved it for you. So first thing is always try and solve the problem. Try to understand the problem, and then try to solve it yourself, right? That's the first thing. Sometimes we got stuck and say, I can't go on here. I'm stuck here. So what should I do? Yeah, you should ask for help. But before you go to someone and ask someone for help, ask yourself for help. This is a technique called rubber ducking. So you just take the rubber duck and explain the problem to the rubber duck. And it's amazing because you just step a little bit back and just think about the problem from another view. And all of a sudden, some answers are popping up in your brain and say, oh, I can try this or that. So this is actually a technique. Before you go to someone else, tell your problem to the rubber duck. Sometimes the rubber duck doesn't help, and you can't come up with an answer. So third thing is ask actually someone for help. Don't be shy. Say, I don't know what to do here. Ask someone for help. That's a great way if you work in teams together. We are here to help each other. And then this also helps us to understand the problem and to dive deeper, because actually this learning experience makes new connections in our brain. We know that. And it helps you if you run into the problem again, use that connection to solve the problem. But not only making new connections is important. And coming back to this grumpy developer, right? actually getting rid of some of these connections is actually also important. We need to learn to unlearn. As I said, I was actually learning waterfall methodologies. That's the best thing. I was learning this in university. Waterfall is the best thing to develop software. We all know that having this big chunk of work in front of us, working on it and showing it then to the customer is not a good idea. Software is way too flexible. So a little bit more agile approach is way better for most of software development teams. I needed to unlearn that. That was pretty obvious to me, but we also have learned some stuff that we need to get rid of it, because actually we need to get rid of some connections and also learn to unlearn. Now, how we become a little bit happier is also to give our knowledge to other people. And I know that a lot of you are actually not junior devs. You're probably also on the senior dev after 2 years in this industry. You have seen things and you become more a senior developer. And I want you to help the junior developer, because we are actually getting so many new developers, because we need so many developers in our community to help them actually to overcome this first 2 years, right? And so please become a mentor. Become a mentor, and mentoring is very important. So give your knowledge, pass that on to the next generation of developers, right? So how do you become a mentor? It's a little bit like this rubber ducking, right? Rubber duck needs also to listen. So let people speak, because same thing as the rubber duck. It helps people to frame their problems, and maybe they can't come up with an answer themselves. Ask questions, go deeper, ask the right questions, and then maybe if they don't come up with their own direction, give them some pointers. Also here, like in the code reviews, don't spoon feed, just give them directions where to go, and then always have an open door. Don't say you can come back next Monday and then we can discuss it again. Say, if you can't move forward here, just come back to me. My door is always open. And actually, I had to learn it the hard way. I was thinking I can do it faster if I do it myself. But actually, just taking the time and listening to these people, and it surprised me what solution they came up with. I wouldn't have chosen that solution. Sometimes I'm thinking, oh, that is a good solution, but then it works out, and I'm just like, I'm super surprised. I'm a little bit ashamed that I didn't come up with that solution, but it's great. So they actually surprise you. It also helps me to continuously learn that there are some other ways of doing things that are maybe better, maybe equally good. So, but this learning is actually a constant thing. So it's an infinitive loop, right? We learn and then we unlearn. And as I said, mentoring is all about advising people, but there's one ingredient missing here. And this is just like to experiment, to see, because learning is about like what other people have told you, and then maybe try something out. But experiment is really something that gives you another push, pushes you in another direction, right? And that's the next thing I want to talk about. How can we be better at experimenting, trying new things out? Because when we look at what we do day in, day out, it is, well, all our tasks are on this board, right? We look at the board and all our tasks are on that. Well, maybe not all our tasks. The rest is in Jira. I know it's already full here, but the backlog is even more full. So all of the tasks are here. That doesn't leave room for any improvement, anything new, any cool new stuff that we can try out. And we know that not all the tasks that someone has written on the card are the best solution, right? We know actually that there might be a better idea actually for this task that is on the board. So how do we actually come over this known unknowns, the things that we know that there is something that might be better or might not? How do we know that? So we know maybe there is a better solution out there. There must be a better solution out there. Or we're missing a better solution out there. maybe a new technology can help us there. I don't know. I haven't tried all the new technologies that are in the world, and I don't know. Maybe there is something that can help us. And also, we're missing some opportunities here. Maybe this direction, this cards, is not the right way to go for the software. So how do we overcome this known unknowns? Well, don't be shy. Just try. Try out better solution. Try out new technology. Try out new opportunities. And that's just carving out time, because this is what we don't have. We work day in, day out on this board, but we need to also take time to experiment, to work on this known unknowns. For example, what I do is with my team is we're doing coding sessions. So we're trying a new programming language, or let's say we want to try TypeScript, or to find out if that can help us, right? And then we're doing 1.5 hours, 1.5 hours a week. We set the time aside with the team, and then do some coding together. We're doing this as a team, and this helps us to really stick to this time and to learn together as a team. So let's say this is 1.5 hours of improving. So seems to be good, right? So 1 hour improving, we can invest that. Then all the tools that we're using, dive deeper into the tools that you use. Do you use all the features? Do you know all the features? Do you know what's actually what this tool can do for you? And then also, what are other tools out there on the market? Are we using the right tools? Should we use something modern or some other tool? So go and find out and try those tools out. So for example, go and try GitHub Actions, right? Try them out to see if this is something that can help you, or try another IDE like this new online IDEs like Gitpod, where you have your whole environment built in the cloud, your workspace environment. Maybe this can help you to boost some productivity. If you never try it, you don't know, right? You don't know if this is a better way to do things, if you do the same things inside out. So do a little bit of tools training, not just your own tools, but also try to use some other tools. Let's say half an hour a week, or even more, I don't know. So add half an hour to this timesheet, so it's 2 hours of improving. So this is also just all trying things that other people have thought before. Where are the other opportunities? Where are the things that we don't know? The innovational things, right? So how can we improve our software? How can our software be better? So what can we do to try things out with our software that we're building, and spark some innovation things in our software? Well, first I want to talk about what not to do, right? What not to do. These are not good things, and I've seen that in actually some kind of a lot of companies, that some people think like, the boss is the genius. So the boss knows what to do. The boss tells us what to do. We trust the boss. The boss has to say what we're doing. So the boss is the genius, comes up with these new ideas. Not a good thing, because we all have good ideas, right? Same as the lone genius. This person that sits in the corner and thinks about new things and tries new things out and give that to the team and say, we have to try this. Yeah, there are maybe people that have great ideas, but other people have great ideas too, but maybe the voices are a little bit lower, right? But maybe you think about, there are some people with all these great ideas, so why don't we put together them in a team, right? A team of geniuses. Also not a good idea. We tried that actually when I was working at Atlassian. We had this team of geniuses. The problem was that the rest of the organization said, oh, innovation is happening in that team, right? We don't have to think about new stuff, but good ideas can come from everyone. The problem is not that the lack of ideas, right? Everyone has great ideas. What is the problem then? The problem is the lack of time, right? As I said, we're working on this board day in, day out, trying to please the customer, but we're missing some opportunities how we can really push the needle forward, probably by taking time off and trying some innovative things. So how much time actually do you need for innovation? Is it 40 hours? What if I give you 30 hours a quarter to try some innovation? But what if I give you 24 hours, right? We all maybe doing this, or we want to do this 24-hour hackathons. We're doing this at MongoDB. We actually have done this at Atlassian when I was there, and we were actually kind of the first ones that did this 24-hour hackathons. We called them FedEx days at that time because delivering in 24 hours, right? You have to deliver your idea in 24 hours, FedEx, right? Delivering in 24 hours makes sense, right? But we had to rename that because in the Google results, we were just in front of FedEx, the company, with our FedEx days. So they asked kindly to just rename it. So we call it Ship It Days. Anyway, small anecdote here. But we actually put that together in 3 phases. So it's a planning phase. Then it's the event phase. So what are we doing during the event? And then we have a follow-up afterwards. So let me dive a little bit deeper into how we organize these Ship It Days or these hackathons. First, we plan the dates actually 3 months in advance. So everyone knows all the schedules, release schedules are planned around this hackathon. So everyone knows these 2 days we're doing a hackathon, right? Then we announce and tell stories. So we don't just go into a hackathon and say, well, now it's time for a hackathon. Let's collect some great ideas. No, we're preparing this. So we actually write stories, what we want to do and what we want to reach. And also we use these stories for pitching it to other team members, because some team members may don't have time to think about great ideas. So what we do is we organize some brown bags 2 weeks before the event, and then we pitch our ideas to the company. And then we say, oh, we need some designers and maybe some marketing people to have a great slide deck for the presentation at the end. So we pitch these ideas to some people, and they can jump on the team. Then the hackathon starts on a Thursday afternoon, 3 p.m. The time is ticking. It's a little bit pressing, right? Because you have to deliver, or you want to deliver in 24 hours. So it's a little bit like very exciting, and it can be a little bit hectic at the end. What you should keep in mind is just like to having fun. This is a fun thing. It's about doing something that you're passionate about, that you want to do. It should be fun, right? It should be a fun event to work on your own ideas. Then don't forget to get energized, eat and drink. Actually, when we did that in an office, obviously, there were not a lot of people staying overnight. So no one really did 24 hours. But there were some people that stayed until 10 p.m. and then came back at 6 a.m. So they had a short nap at home and then came back. Do whatever you like, but just get energized and drink. So, and then 3 p.m. of Friday afternoon, so 24 hours later, we need to deliver. We should just show off what we have done, right? Give all you got. It's also about the presentation. Then we vote for the winner, for the best ideas, for the best presentation, whatever, the most innovative stuff. And then we celebrate together. And then we look at it and say, what can really go on the product roadmap, what makes sense. The coolest ideas is maybe sometimes not the best ideas to give it to customers, but still can win and be the coolest ideas. But there are some ideas that really could turn the needle, right? And then we plan for the next hackathon. So we say in 3 months, there's another hackathon, this date, and then the planning cycle is done. So we have this problem that not everyone actually could participate on these hackathons because it was more like a software engineering programming thing, right? So all the marketing people, legal people, designers, they also wanted to do something. So feel free also to involve those folks. They don't have to write software. So here's an example where someone came up with building a hidden whiskey bar in the office, and hopefully people can go there soon again in Sydney. So it's a socializing place, and it helps to bring everything together. So everything that improves collaboration, improves the software, is cool for a hackathon. So let's do the math here. 24-hour hackathons, doing them every quarter, gives us 0.7 hours a week on our timesheet. That's 2.7 hours of improving. Now let's put a little bit more hours in here, because we also have known knowns. So, these great ideas, maybe some ideas don't make it to the product roadmap. What are we doing with those? And we want to maybe we didn't really get to the point of showing what's really capable with this idea. Or there are this small other things, right? I call them paper cuts. So these are really small things that is a little bit like hurts a little bit, like paper cut. It hurts, but it doesn't really end up on the roadmap because it's too small and it doesn't have a lot of impact. But if your software is full of these small things, software get a bad reputation. People don't want to use your software because it's just full of the small little things, right? The small paper cuts. And maybe you heard the term of death by 1,000 paper cuts. Your software can be so good and so innovative if there are so many small things that really hinders the people to do a great job. Well, you should fix those, but they never end up on the roadmap. So what could you do? Here's the thing, right? Instead of 20% time, which we also tried and didn't really work out for us, we did innovation weeks, right? So every 8 weeks, we took a whole week off. I know this is a big time investment, but you're working on real things for the software. It's not like hackathons where you try things out. You really come up with a plan and work on these innovative things for the software that doesn't make it into the roadmap. And you work on paper cuts, small things that hurt the users, and you fix those in those innovation weeks. And this really this can turn the needle. And it's also good to do it as a team. And that's the difference, 20% time and innovation weeks, because you as a team take time off it. So where 20% time is about the individual, and this is about the whole team taking time off. All right, this is actually a big add to this timesheet. So 5 hours of in a week make 7.7 hours of improving. You should invest time in discovery. It's so important. You should invest time in this one to help you move things forward. It's like training for soccer players. You should also invest time in discovery. Where should the software go? What are cool things to do? And use this time. But now you must say, Sven, my calendar looks like this. It's full. Where should I put it in? Right? I barely can come to my real job of doing programming stuff. Where should I carve in some innovation time? My boss won't allow this. And I've heard this a lot. It's time to reduce the overhead, to really spend time on innovation stuff and also to work on what matters. So reduce your overhead. Get rid of some of those meetings, right? Get rid of those. So, but which meetings should you cut, right? You should ask yourself, actually, do I really need that meeting? Is that something that I really need? And especially about recurring meetings, like one-on-ones, weekly status meetings, daily stand-up. I wouldn't put that actually in the time of them we're all working from home into this kind of necessary. If you're working in an office, we could question if we need stand-ups, right? But weekly status meetings and one-on-ones, you may don't need that. So here's an experiment that a colleague of mine did. He actually canceled all recurring meetings. He just said, okay, I'm going to cancel it. Let's see what's happening. So first thing, I'm going to write to the person, is it still necessary, this one-on-one? Do we really need that? Let's stop it for 3 months and let's review it. If we miss something, maybe we do monthly, but do we really need this weekly thing? Another thing that you can ask is, am I actually still the right person? I know once I was the right person. Am I the right person in that weekly status meeting? Maybe you should invite someone else. Or am I actually always required? Should I be there the whole time? Or do you just need me for 5 minutes? Or just for certain meetings where you cover some topic that interests me, or that where you need me, actually? Just invite me when needed. So cancel all recurring meetings. That was an experiment that he did. Actually, it freed up a lot of time for him, and he didn't miss so much things. So also replace recurring meetings with status reports. So the Confluence Cloud team actually did this status report where they actually did this weather report. So every part of the Confluence Cloud team, engineering, product, marketing, did this weather report, put in their current weather report. So it was sunny or rainy or something, and put in the status update. So everyone knew what's going on without having a weekly meeting. And then if something gets stormy, they called in a meeting and said, hey, we have to talk about this, right? Because it's getting stormy here and we have to align. So just in case that something needs to be synced, they synced. If not, they got the updates through this weather report. So also stand-ups, as I said. I think it's at the moment it's still important that we meet and that we talk to each other. But there are some other ways, like having a Google Doc where you write in your daily stand-up, or Stand-Uply here as a tool for Slack that you could use. Try to see which meetings do you really need. Do you need that daily to carve out time, to have more time to experiment, to learn, and also to do concentrated work. Actually, you should ask yourself, do I have to call in that meeting? And there's this decision matrix, and there's a link at the end that you can jump on my webpage where you can get this decision matrix. So let's go through this decision matrix to see if it's really, if you should call in the meeting. So you want to make a decision, solve a problem, get feedback, generate ideas, right? So we call in a meeting for that. Let's say we want to generate some ideas here. Does that need to happen in real time? Yes, I want everyone in that meeting. So does everyone have enough background information to get it done? No, actually, I didn't share any information with them. I just wanted to share that in that meeting. Oops, fix that first. No meeting. All right. So I should send around the background information first so people know. Makes sense. So use this matrix to decide if there's a meeting or not. But at the end, maybe you come down to boom, schedule it. We're doing a meeting. Woohoo! Try to make it as effective as possible, right? Write down the agenda first, have meeting notes so people can decide not to attend, but still get the information out of it. So having meeting notes somewhere on a Google Doc, in Confluence, wherever you want that, so everyone is on the same page. At the beginning, introduce the agenda and ask people to leave. Do you think you have something to say today? If not, leave now, and you can use the time better than sitting in that meeting. Of course, physical meetings, close your laptops, but also in virtual meetings. Don't read Slack messages, don't answer emails. Be fully focused on the meeting, use that time efficiently. And then also in meeting rooms, we have this here. It's a rubber chicken, not a rubber duck, a rubber chicken. And once a person gets off topic, you take this rubber chicken and say, and all of a sudden the person said, oh, sorry, I went off topic. Let's concentrate on the things, right? And squeeze the rubber chicken. Nowadays, you just have to hold the rubber chicken in the camera and don't squeeze it, and people know, oh, sorry, I went off topic. So this is a good thing to just have a concentrated time in the meeting where we all concentrate on the things and maybe carve out time. I know nowadays, we need to social interact a little bit more because we're all stuck in our home office. So reserve some time for some social interaction. But if you want to talk about something, then be concentrated on it and use maybe the rubber chicken. And I'm actually, these things can actually help me a lot using my time, right? I'm wasting a lot of time by meetings, email, and Slack. Right, I call them time sucks because I spend so much time in them that the day goes by and I get nothing done. Right? Why is that? Because it's easy. It feels like we're getting stuff done if we answer emails, if we go to meetings, if we answer Slack messages, and it avoids a little bit thinking about the harder stuff, right? The hard stuff. But this really needs some concentration time. I can answer a meeting, an email. Just between two meetings, that's easy, but I cannot come up with a new concept or really dive deep into coding, into a coding session. When I know in 10 minutes I have a meeting again, or the Slack message pops up and I'm distracted again. So carve out time actually for deep work. And I can just recommend to try to carve out time for the whole team for deep work. So the whole team takes time off and concentrates, right? So what we did is actually, we said from 1 p.m. to actually 4 p.m., we have this sign on the door when we were working in an office. Now we have a Slack status message. We're not available. We are back at 4 p.m. We have deep work time. We concentrate as a team. So all the meetings were in the morning, and in the afternoon, we took time off. And that actually spread it throughout the organization. So nowadays, a lot of people are doing deep work time, certain time at a day, and people are looking forward to this concentration time. But some people have to make support, right? So have one person maybe that need to react, that can react. So just one person in the team that maybe is answering the Slack messages in the room, in your Slack room, or is the one, if you're working in an office, have a flag on the desk and say, I'm the support person, so talk to me, and then rotate the support person. So not one person has to do the whole duty, but one person a week has to do the whole duty, right? So a support person can answer the first level support things, and then maybe can talk to the team, but the team is not, the team can work concentrated on things. What I also do often is getting stuff done days. So reserve a whole day as a team to work on one topic. Like, we need to refactor, right? We know that. So just reserve this one day to refactor. Call it a refactor day. You're always looking forward for that day. Turn off your emails, turn off your Slack messages, and do just as a team refactoring, documentation, whatever things lay on the table that you said, oh, we know we have to do that, but we need to concentrate on that, right? So just reserve one day and then getting stuff done day. So this actually helps you to get this hard stuff done, right? But Sven, what is actually the hard stuff? Okay, that's the last thing I want to talk about, to work on what matters to be more effective. Let's give you this here. Let's say you want to work in you want to build a factory, and maybe a solar panel environment-friendly factory, right? Where you build your solar panels. There are experts talking about automation and chemicals and stuff like that. You don't know, you don't want to dive in, you trust those experts in these meetings. So yeah, do your thing, that's great. Automation, yeah, do your robot thing. But then the conversation comes to this here, the bike shed. And all of a sudden, all people in that meeting have an opinion about the bike shed. What color should it have? How many bikes should there be in there? And that's called bike shedding, right? If people talk about spending too much time on things with low impact, who cares about the bike shed, right? Let's put it in a bike shed. But everyone has an opinion about that. And it's also called priority delusions. So we're talking about things that are having not a big impact. And we need to spend more time on things with impact. We should talk about this elephant in the room. We should talk about the problem that we want to solve in software development. What problem does this feature that we're gonna put on solve? I've been in a lot of projects, and a lot of people just say, "Oh, we need this button to add a user here." I say, you need to, yeah, that's great. Let's put in a task, or a project or whatever, to say we need to add a user here. But why should we do that? Is there validation data that people have really a problem and need that button right here? Or are there other solutions? Maybe it's not smart to add buttons everywhere, so people get confused. So talking about the real problem that we want to solve, we don't take enough time to do that. Maybe one person has thought about that, but not the whole team. But the whole team have to buy in if we work on a project to understand what the problem is. So what we do is actually we fill out that project poster. We've worked a little bit on that. Also, links are back on my page to download the project poster. And we worked on the questions a lot. So there's questions like, why are we doing this? How do we judge success? What are possible solutions? And before we start with the project, we need to fill out that project poster. And we are not just done. It's a living document. So also validation data ready to make it. So once we have that, we have a common understanding of the whole problem that we want to solve, right? And this is super important for projects to have this kind of information handy. Also to hand it over to people that actually want to know what's going on, right? What are you doing here and why are you doing here? You can just hand over the project poster. Now, and that breaks down actually to also user stories. So if you write user stories like this one, as a user, I want a new statistic button so that I can see the number of data sets, right? It could be a user story for MongoDB. So people want to see how many data sets are in my database. And I just want a statistic button to see which time did they get added, Great. But this is already the solution. That's not the problem, right? What do people really want? So you should work also on the user stories to carve out the real problem. So not as users, you should name the user as Yasmin. You want to know the number of data sets so that I can plan for growth. This is what I want to do. I want to find out, do I need to add another chart or another database so I can plan for actually growing my database. So you should think more like your users, right? Like Jasmine, as I just said, like Lucas and Tina. These are all different users with different stuff. So maybe Jasmine, she's a developer in training, wants to have the statistic, but Lucas has some other requirements too. So think like your users. Think always, when you talk about the features, you should always have the users in mind. So learn your users, and we're using not real users, we're using personas that represent users. So we have this personas. And when we talk about a new feature, we talk about, how would Jasmine solve that? How would Lucas solve that? So we have a sheet where we talk about how their education is, what they're doing, how their knowledge is. So we have that users in mind, and we should get reminded of these users all the time and actually everywhere. So you can't really escape from our personas, right? They are literally everywhere. Now that you have all those user stories, right? What user stories should you work on first? Think about the happy path of your software. This where 80-90% of the people spend their time, right? So this is actually the happy path. Fix this first before you fix the corner cases. So how do you find out what to fix in your happy path? Well, we do a technique called journey mapping. So we write down here, what is the journey that a user takes? So on every step in that journey, we write down, and then we write, what problems do people have? And how do we solve that? So we have a good understanding and fixing those things, so we make 80-90% of our users super happy, and that makes our software much better and much more enjoyable. And then do that for each persona. So different personas have different journeys. So you have a good understanding of how to improve your happy path in your software. Now, I've been talking a lot about features and how to improve software from a product perspective, right? But we are here, we are all developers, we think about code, and you, Sven, you have talked about all the product stuff. That's actually should be done by the product manager, not by us developers, right? We are just responsible for the code to get this done. Yeah, so this quote here, I wish engineers spent less time understanding the problem and more time coding. Who said that? That said nobody ever, right? We need to understand the problem, the underlying problem, what we solve there with our software. We need to understand that to make decisions on our own and help the product managers, right? Because we know what's possible. So let's go hand in hand with the product managers. We actually should become product engineers, right? So also as an engineer, work close together with the product side of things. So maybe you're a junior developer, that's fine. Care about the code first, and then learn more about the product. If you're more than 2 years working on the product, you should actually become a product engineer, if that is your thing. I know it's not for everyone, but think about it, becoming a product engineer. So what things can you do? First things, do hallway testing. I know the product managers do the user testing, but you can just, with a prototype, run around and show it to your coworkers and say, do you think this would work? And get some feedback immediately, right? Or go on support. We actually had this program where we sent developers for 1 week a year on support to help with support cases and get to know what the real issues are with real users. So that also helps actually to understand the user better and to improve the software where the user needs it. And also become a data detective. Don't just look at the performance data and stuff like that. That's of course you should do that too. But also go in and see which features are used the most. Should we spend time on the least used features, or should we spend time on the most used features? Obvious question. Sorry for that. So it's important to work on the things that matters for the customers. So become an effective developer. Okay, let's wrap up here. My hour is always almost over. Think about team code. You code as a team, have coding standards, coding formatting standards, so people can actually simply read the code. Learn, constantly learn. Do a book club or whatever. Constantly try to improve. Become a mentor, right? Think about that, to become more effective and pass on your knowledge to the younger generation that can actually do the work so you become more effective. Experiment, try new things. This really turns sometimes the needle. The things that you haven't thought of, not the obvious things, right? Try to carve out time for experiment. This is a little bit on the efficiency side. Reduce your overhead, kill meetings, whatever. Try to have deep work time, and also work on really what matters. This is also important. Work on what matters, and this really turns the needle, and this makes you super effective as a developer. Now, this is a windy road. There's no approach, and you can't really. It's hard also to measure these things. It's not like efficiency is pretty much straightforward, right? If you think about efficiency, it's pretty much straightforward. So you are faster, you're better, you fix more bugs, all those things. And don't get me wrong, this is also super important. I know at the beginning I was a little bit ranting about that, but it's super important to work on some automation stuff, to automate things that you do twice or three times, and then you should automate it, right? Know your tools, know your command line tools, right? Try to use the command line, be more efficient in that, be faster, be more efficient. And then also deep work, and I was talking a little bit about that, carve out time for deep work to be more efficient. But when we talk about efficiency, it's to get more stuff done. We get more stuff done if we be more efficient. If we automate stuff, we have more time for doing some else things. But being effective is more about getting the right stuff done, right? Getting the stuff done that is super important. Or with other words, efficiency is about the output that we generate, where effectiveness is about the outcome. So think outcome first. Be effective, and at the end, get shit done. Thank you so much for attending my keynote. And I'm now jumping, I think, in the Zoom room to answer questions. Is that right? I think so.
Hi again. Thank you a lot for your talk, Sven. And we invite you to answer the questions from participants and to join our Zoom rooms. So once again, thank you for supporting our event, and we were glad to welcome you on this online stage. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thanks.